I call the 40th meeting of Rotary year 23-24 to order. Welcome to all the guests who are present today here and all our Rotarians who are attending the meeting. And I'm sure we will be having a very interesting piece of presentation from Dash and Revathy. Okay. May we please observe 1 minute silence invocation for the world peace.
No. Do not touch it.
Thank you. May I request Club Secretary Suman to make her announcements, please? Over to you, Suman.
Thank you so much, Radhi. Good evening, everyone, in this new financial year. We have one wedding anniversary this week. We have Mercy and Vinod John, who will be celebrating their wedding anniversary on April 10th. We wish the couple the very best. We have one meeting this weekend. This will be the board meeting. The board meeting will be held on Sunday. It will be a breakfast meeting in Bangalore Club. And this is being hosted jointly by Narayan and Shrikant. That's it from my side, Radhi.
Thank you, Suman. Well, we have a Rotary information talk today, and it's going to be quite interesting listening to one of our new Rotarian. Yes, though she's on the board this year, I cannot call her a new Rotarian as such. Rotarian Samina, over to you.
Okay, today the topic that I've asked is Rotary Environment Month. I have to speak on that. So namaste all. This is a very pertinent situation that we are all living and facing today. There are many challenges like pollution, deforestation, lack of biodiversity, etc., which needs to be addressed. So in its endeavor, the Rotary Foundation as a community is making its efforts to bring in a better tomorrow for us and the future generations, and we should support this cause. Rotary clubs across the globe are doing their bit for a greener and more future. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
So I would like to bring some of the projects that the Rotary clubs are working on globally on the environment. Rotary Foundation, along with the United Nations program, set up a strategic partnership with the Rotas to take care of local waterways by conducting the basic water air quality, clean up the rivers and report findings. Similarly, Rotary Club in the UK are encouraging its citizens to walk, bike to work, use local transport.
Tata.
Samina?
I think she's having link problem.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Hello?
you can, Samina.
Okay. So I'll continue?
Yes, yes, please go ahead.
Oh, okay. Okay. So similarly, the Rotary clubs in UK are encouraging its citizens to walk, bike, and use local transport to reduce the carbon footprint and plant more trees. There's a very interesting Rotary Club of East Ramanadu in Tamil Nadu, which is Say No to Plastic Bags, an initiative that they have worked with the interactors to provide 750 reusable cotton bags in their community. Rotary Club of California, along with Kenya, had the Wild Club and the UN Environment Program to promote the Kumba safaris. Through this program, it not only educates the students while learning, but they're also taught to value and conserve wildlife. Rotarians in the Colorado have worked in providing solar lights to off-grid homes in the Native Americans. And Rotary Club of Mumbai has provided solar cookers and more efficient wood. Solar units are being used instead of the kerosene lamps and candles. They have also provided the solar electric power for charity. Rotate this and make a small yet necessary change and educate the society at large by making an impact for a better time. Meeting.
Samina?
Yeah, hello. Hi.
Yeah. We lost you in between.
Yeah.
We can't hear you, Samina. I think we lost her, Gargi.
I think we have lost her. If you can just check, 1 minute.
Yeah, she's just logging in.
She's back, she's back. I think, Shamina, you should try without the video.
Take over, Gargi.
Yeah. Hello.
I think we are going to miss the rest of the meeting if this continues. Okay?
Yes.
Take over. Yeah.
Right. Okay, I think, Suman, we will stop here as far as Samina's talk is concerned.
Yeah.
Let us go ahead with the rest of the meeting, okay? Well, our this evening's speaker is none other than past President Dash and his spouse, Revathy. I don't think they need any introduction. And we are looking forward to a dashing story of a whole different Kerala story. So over to you, Dash and Revathy. We are also looking forward to your dashing story. Please go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Yeah, good evening, Gargi and all the people who are on the call. Very recently, we had a chance to go to Kerala. And this was in connection with something called the Thame Festival. To be very honest, we had never heard of it before. But a very good friend of ours had pointed us to this very, very interesting place in the north of Kerala, where there is a fantastic art form of Theyyam, which is really a religious ritual. And what Revathy and I want to do is to take you through some of what we saw, what we understood, what we heard, etc. Is the screen visible to all? Suman, the screen.
Not
shared?
yet.
Not yet, Dash. You'll have to share.
Is it now visible?
Yeah, it's
Coming-
started
yeah.
sharing now.
Yes.
I'm just trying to go back to the starting point. Okay,
Yeah.
here we are. Sorry about that. Okay. So, to such of them or such of us who are not very familiar with where Kannur is, it's sort of southwest of Bangalore, all the way to the western coast of Kerala. And it's a northern part of Kerala and very close to the southern part of Karnataka, therefore, which has some relevance, which we will see towards the end. So we did an overnight trip and wished ourselves there. We were there for 3 days to try
Unmute video.
possible. So the first education was actually in this place, which is called the Kerala Folklore Academy. And it was very interesting because it had, Kerala had done a very good job for the tourists. It had excellent artifacts there. There were very good boards explaining everything. So this helped us understand what this whole thing called Theyyam. You see the figurine behind. Some of us can recognize a bit of Kathakali in terms of facial colors and so on, but this is much, much more than that. So what is Theyyam? It is a Hindu religious festival, which is typically associated with North Kerala, but as it turns out, South Karnataka also has a claim to it. It's a form of dance, music. There's a lot of drums, various kinds of drums that play there. The whole thing is, the locals, the villagers believe that their favorite deities, not all the temples have a deity in them. So the favorite deities manifest themselves once a year on an appointed date on a particular star through a human medium. And therefore, there is one person who dresses up and becomes the god for that day. And the whole village reveres the person, takes blessings, and so on and so forth. So it's a manifestation of the god form. Some parts of Kerala also believe that there are people who have done very good folklores and so on, and these are manifestation of such people as well. There's a lot of drums, like I said, which accompanies it. Very often, a village celebrates it, but in Kerala, such of them on the call will know this, there is a concept called a Taravadu, which is really an ancestral home of the senior-most person in a dynasty. And they typically have a small temple and a deity attached to it. And this performance is done in their Taravadu, which is like a big compound. There is a large temple of a deity and some smaller ones. There is a clearing, and in the clearance, this various types of Theyyams are performed. So that's an interesting one. And we were quite surprised to find that there are over 400 kinds of Theyyams which are there. And each of them is very different from the other. They have their own choreography, their own music, style, and what have you. Just by name, a couple of them which are very famous. Vishnumurti is a very famous one. Muttappan Theyyam, Muchilotu Bhagavati, Gulikan, and others. So some of these which we had a chance to see, we will show you photographs. And almost all the photographs of those that we took when we were physically there, and we have tried to order them, so you'll be able to see it. Okay, continuing with that. The artist is chosen carefully, normally a very senior person, very, very respected, revered, and a person who earns the goodwill of the people around. They take enormous pain. In fact, they say it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a village to make up one of these people or persons. And very, very colorful headgear, face, paints, etc. it takes a lot of time for them to get ready. And this happened just for one day in a year. So all this is done just for that one dance. The headgear and ornaments and so on are very, very elaborate, and you'll see some of those. And Theyyam is also called Kaliyatam, and it's performed normally because the whole village shows up there. There are huge crowds which are actually attending. And this particular one, you see the photo on the right, which is a fire Theyyam, was actually, we got up at 3:45 in the morning and we went to that place. 4:15 we were there. And there were children who were 3, 4, 5 years old, who were wide awake, who were actually there enjoying the festivity. So it was quite a sight to watch.
Yes,
So-
and our fantastic guide is on the call today.
This a friend of ours called Devarajan had pointed it, and we have gone through the heritage, which Shihad, the person who is on this call, helped us tee up this whole program, did a fantastic job, and we'll talk a little bit about him towards the end. Now, we mentioned that there are 400 different types of Theyyams, and a couple of them which are very famous. Very quickly, without draining the ocean, let's look at those. It's very interesting that for Vaishnavites, there are only 2 particular Theyyams that are there, Daivatar and Vishnumurti. So Vishnumurti is the one which is the more prevalent and most common, and you'll have a chance to see one of those a little later. Very complicated ritual, very elaborate, takes time. Muttappan, you notice the peculiar beak-like face, right? And it has a history to it. But Muttappan is performed throughout the year. This is interesting, unlike all others which are only on one day. So Muttappan is a far more festive kind of thing, and is done very often. And there are numerous Muttappan temples all over. We went to this Parasini Kadavu, which is one of the 2 very famous ones. And that was really very interesting. Now, for the children, they have this concept of a Gulikan. You want to talk about Gulikan? Okay, so this is like a little bit of a mischievous person, a person who is actually creating a little bit of gather in the whole performance. And it's believed that's an incarnation of Yama. And there are 2 versions of it, doesn't really matter. But this person comes in a mask, does all kinds of antics, and is really very popular with the crowd, as one can well imagine. The one which is considered very from a point of view of divinity, which is Muchilod Bhagavati, considered a tremendous form of knowledge and prosperity. And again, there are different versions, different stories on how she was born. But the point is, it is Bhagavati, it is in the form of a goddess. Just as an aside, it might have been a question in somebody's mind, but inevitably the persons who perform this are men, except the one which is relating to Bhagavati, where women are allowed to perform. So it's very interesting. And for us, it was all the more interesting because North Kerala is actually matrilineal, which means women actually are the people who rule the roost. The names are actually taken after the women. The men take the name of their mother as a surname, if you like. So it's very interesting that in spite of that, only one particular Theyyam form allows women. Then they do a lot with fire. We didn't see this, but the interesting thing is this person has torches around the middle and Pirut, so therefore must be a very glorious sight to see. Another form of Bhagavati, Bhagavati. Okay, so this is just a collage of some of the Theyyams that we saw. Now, just look at the first one on the left and look at the very, very elaborate. This is actually, it's on a frame. It is done with wire and thin bamboo with a little bit of steel to make it stiff. And it's over 25 feet tall. And this one person actually, it's put on his head and his back, and he's going to carry it. You'll see a video a little bit later. And the person actually carries that heavy burden. The person
Actually, this was a private, what they call a nurture, which is a private offering that they had said that when something good happens or they want something, they will do this. And it was done in a forest. And the little building that you see behind is the clearing in the forest where the person dresses up and then comes out. And we were able to see the person dressing up, coming out, etc. And then after that comes to another clearing where he performs the dance. In this particular case, it was by a couple who did not have children and had previously had this nature, and after that the couple conceived. So as a Thanksgiving, they had this, they sponsored this function again to say we thank you for support and making us conceive this baby. And so they it was that, it was very private. Though there were a few people, family members and few others, and our guide was very kind enough to take us there. Shihad was very kind enough.
And the very interesting thing is, while we call this private, it's private and public. Now, oxymoronic as it sounds, what it means is, like, this couple would go in front of him and actually say that we don't have children, we would like your help, kind of thing. And people around can hear it. But it is a conversation between them, and he gives a little portion of rice and they help conceive. Okay, so you can see another one in the center, which is that red face. That's actually the same person who is on the left as well, right? But this is a blow-up of the face where the person is getting ready. A couple of others, this one we've already seen, the Muthappan form on the top right. And the one in the middle, you can, the very interesting thing is Vishnumurti, and it's all made of natural material. Grass, which is plaited, which is like a skirt, I guess you will see that in Hawaii. And this person wears it in 2 layers. And you know how tough it must be. Look at the person's right hand and left hand. It is above the ring, which means the person's hand is raised right through the performance, right? You can imagine how much of a difficulty that would pose. Okay, so we got lucky, or rather the part of the schedule when we went in the morning, there was one village where 3 different dance forms were formed one after the other. The one that you see on the left, the Muthappan, had already finished when we went there. This person in the center, the little bit of a rogue, the Guligan, did a very elaborate one. And then the Vishnumurti on the right was the third and final act. Now, you can see that the Vishnumurti person who was acting was initially dressed in a normal garb, if you like, with, of course, all the red on top. But then they put this little hoop and this hay on top, and that's how the person gets into this 2 layers that you see here, right, in the bottom middle. So it's again a very, very elaborate. And 4 or 5 people are actually helping the person into the costume, wiring it so that the person has enough movement, etc. Now, while a lot of religious festivities are conducted in a very, from our point of view, in a very sedentary manner, this particular one has a little bit of sacrifice, right? And you can see in the middle, there are the 2 gentlemen with the saffron lungi. And if you're able to see the picture, on the left hands, they're holding roosters. So there were actually 3 roosters which had to be sacrificed. So they had a big vessel in front of them with water. They would sacrifice, they would chop off the head of that bird. The blood would be oozed into the vessel in front, and then the water would be sprayed on the people around. And it is believed that that act of sacrifice, which is normally, because it's a form of goddess Kali that worship is done, that they need to give sacrifice. My understanding is that much earlier they used to have animal sacrifice, which has been banned. And Kerala government has recently also said they want to ban even the rooster sacrifice, just as an asset.
We saw it, but we didn't feel like taking the pictures of that.
It was
that was a little hard on us.
gory.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to try and see if I can show you a quick glimpse of the fire theme. In this, there is a big fire which is lit, a pyre which is lit, and one of the persons is actually walking over the fire repeatedly, right? And so it's quite a, you can imagine an act of faith, if you like, that the person undertakes. So I'm just trying to bring up that video. Please do bear with me for a minute. Presentation. Presentation mode. Sorry, it's not launching from the presentation mode. I'm trying to see if I can exit and launch the video separately. Okay, there seems to be some little bit of glitch. My apologies. When we did a testing just a while ago, it seemed to work.
Now you should. Stop sharing.
Just give me a second. I'll try stop share and see if I can open it and share again. My apologies.
Thank you. Huh? Not coming? Yeah. Where is coming? Videos are up.
One last attempt, otherwise we.
You should open
And that.
I think the
What?
Bye, Tata. We're going to sleep. My mom is.
Bye, mommy.
Yeah.
Bye, pa.
Bye, Tata. Party.
okay.
All right, I think, sorry about that.
I think the videos don't seem to be working. I think just go back.
Sure.
So while he brings up the screen again, for some reason the video is not working. It's unfortunate, but in the meanwhile, while he brings up the rest of it, if you all have any questions, be happy to answer. Can you hear this? Was it audible? No.
No, no, it
Is
was
it
not.
audible?
No, it is not. Now yes.
No pictures.
You cannot hear, you couldn't hear and you couldn't see it?
We could hear but not see. Now there's a visual.
We-
Now we can see, but we can't hear.
No, we stopped sharing because we couldn't, nobody responded, so we.
It's not moving, but
Sorry?
yeah, it's not moving anymore.
No, we stopped it because we didn't hear from anybody, so we stopped it.
We can start
Is
it
the-
again.
No, no,
Is-
I
is-
think it'll be too complex. I think just.
Is the screen visible now?
Yes.
Okay, let's
Okay,
just
and
move
if
on.
you're audible, let's at least continue with that. Okay, so the one that Revathy explained about the Nilyar Pottam was the one where somebody had made a wish or made a prayer one year, and because it worked out well, they came back. But just look at how elaborate the headgear is. The person obviously took a long time to get himself painted and dressed up. But the beautiful part was just that morning, I told you that there were three in a row that happened. He happened to be there as an observer. He's obviously part close to them. And Revathy and I were also sitting in the hut next to where he was. He remembered that. And the evening when we went and met with him, he actually said, I saw both of you in the morning at the other one. And I must say, there must have been hundreds of people who were there. And for him to remember faces of two people who seemed to have taken in the one earlier was quite a personal touch.
And we received some special blessings for having attended one early in the morning and one late in the night, evening.
Okay, it's not as if this North Kerala is only Tem. There are a lot of temples there as well. And there are a couple of temples that we did manage to visit. But if you see the one on the left, first and foremost, what strikes you is my dress, right? And the beautiful thing with Kerala is normally when we go, there is a big suitcase that you have to pack. But I can tell you, to go to Kerala, all you need is 2 dhotis, a towel and a shirt, and actually you're home and dry. You can go through all the Kerala, the temples and so on. Especially when you go to temples, they insist on wearing a dhoti and taking off the top dress. They want you bare top. And that's something which in Theyyam it is not compulsory. So you can have your slippers on, your dhoti on, and you could be watching it. But the moment you go into the temple, you compulsorily have to take it off.
But even at the Theyyam, the slippers are outside, left outside.
There is a boundary.
allowed.
Boundary, you leave it out and step into it. Now, one interesting observation, people who have traveled north and seen, there is a step well. Can you see it at the back on the left picture? From the ground level, it actually goes 100 feet. There are 10 layers, each of them about 10 feet tall. And so almost 100 feet below the ground is where the water is. And so Kerala, of course, has tremendous water, unlike us in Bangalore. And there is a lot of water which is there all the time. And it's very interesting that this becomes a community gathering point kind of thing. The one on the right, you want to talk about the...
Yeah, this is the place, very ancient temple. We sneakily took pictures because we are not allowed to take pictures here. We had some special pictures. This is the first temple in which the mural paintings of Kerala, which is very, very famous. This is where the mural paintings were done, and we were very privileged to go and see it. It was a very lonely place, very quiet, not much was happening, but I think it was really amazing to see the origins of the mural paintings.
And if you think about it, even Ajanta, for instance, there was a lot of paintings that were done, but it was inside the cave, whereas this mural is actually open to the elements. And right through the centuries, you can see the quality of color that was used has been organic. So in some places where it is not east or west, but north and south, you could actually still see vibrant color. So that's a very, very interesting aspect. And this was there on all the 4 sides of the temple. And again, a very, very interesting place for us to visit. Okay, so just as a little bit of on the lighter side, we got to see a lot of temples, we got to see a lot of Theyyams, and therefore I would say it was fulfilling for the soul. But as they say, the way to a person's heart is food, right? And it so happened that right now, of course, we are in the middle of Ramzan. Our guide, who is Shihad, who is on the call today, and a driver, both were Muslims, and therefore they're observing Ramadan. And it was so tough on them because right from morning around 5:20 is the last meal they're allowed to have. Till 6:42, they're not allowed to have technically even a sip of water. And unfortunately, that was exactly the time when we had to be chaperoned around. To their credit, without so much as a murmur, they ran around. They made it very interesting for us, never letting any of that come in the way. And as you know, they break their fast with an iftar in the evening. And they had done something very, very imaginative. They had actually organized an iftar for us. Both Revathy and I are staunch vegetarians. And he had requested them, the family that was hosting us was a friend of his, Abdullah. And he had told them that please avoid using eggs or meat, just make it vegetarian. Now, think about it for a minute, that the concept of an iftar is absolute food on the table, anything and everything that people can eat, right? And there is obviously a lot of meat in it normally. And there was a request to make it vegetarian. Now, we were very, very curious to say what kind of veg food would we possibly get from them. And it's very interesting. We are told by the host that they were equally curious, wondering what they could dish out for us. And they spent a lot of time. Look at that spread on the left. If you count from our side and go all the way to the end, there are 20 things that are laid out on the table. And these were the ones which could be served a bit cold, if you like. There were 5 or 6 other items which actually came straight from the kitchen and they kept putting it on our plate. And what a spread, man, we were really, really stuffed. Now, if you see the back of the photo, there is myself and Revathy. There is a lady in the corner. She is the mother of our host. And the person with the cap on the right-hand side, Shihad, is a guide. And the person sitting just after the door on the left was a driver. You want to talk a little bit about the family?
Yeah, and you know, for us, it was very surprising that they themselves were fasting, but they could put out such a big spread for us. And you only see a few of the things. There were more which came later. And, you know, our host, who is on the wearing the yellow t-shirt, said, "This is my wife's passion." I said, "How did you even think of doing this?" So he said, "This is my wife's passion." And it also gives her a way to make some money. And it also gives her some independence, sense of independence. So, and all their children and his nephews and nieces, he has 4 children and other children, were all involved. They kept bringing things from the kitchen and serving us. It was so amazing to see this kind of, you know, hospitality. We were really touched, and we were really touched that Shihad organized something like this, because we never even expected anything like this. It was extremely experiential for us.
And you know, the beautiful thing is how progressive they can be. We always hear about Kerala, literacy and whatever. Here is Abdullah. He runs a very fine, very profitable business in Middle East, right? And he sells handicraft items, which he sources from physically handicapped and people who make stuff from sustainable materials. And these are all small gift items, if you like, which he sells in Middle East, and apparently is doing very well. Because he spends 2 weeks a month in Dubai, and therefore his wife and children would not see him for those 2 weeks, he wanted his wife to do something in parallel while he was away, just so that she wouldn't be, you know, missing him that much. So they organized a homestay. Shihad, the guide, was telling us that he had given them some ideas and stuff. So this is part of a huge ancestral property that they have. They've actually got a building, beautifully done, new materials, and it is a place for homestay. And she does the cooking. And he told us that whatever money she makes, she gets to spend. I have no control over it. So again, a very, very interesting side that we could have an iftar, vegetarian iftar. Coming towards the end, some of you might have seen the movie called Kantara. Have any of you seen it? Maybe you can unmute and say yes if you have.
Yes,
I
was about to ask. Exactly.
That's why we put this, because
I recently went.
Oh, there
yeah,
you go.
I hadn't seen the Kantara movie. In fact, our guide asked us, Shahad asked us, "Have you seen Kantara movie?" And when I posted some pictures in various friend groups, they said, "Oh, Kantara movie." So I said, now I must go and watch the movie. So both of us went and watched the movie, and I said, okay, just to relate to a famous movie which had just come, there's a lot of similarities, and it's called Budakola here. It is a Tulunadu festival, and the situation is very similar there because they are also thought as devas, and the rituals are, the dance and the music is a little different, maybe slightly different, but the themes and the way it is performed is all very similar. And because they are all very adjoining places, very close to North Malabar, though it happens to be in Tulunadu. So that's just an aside. Because of Kantara movie, whenever I send a picture to anybody that I did a 3-day trip to Kannur, and they say, where is Kannur? And I sent this. They say, oh, Kantara. And then I said, we must go and watch the movie. Yeah, so that's about it.
Just one
And-
last little trivia, which is since we were in Kannur, it's very interesting that over the centuries, over the last 800 years, they have had tremendous invasion stroke influence by foreign powers. So we go back where the Kolatiri Rajas who used to rule had actually seafaring trade with Arabia. That's very interesting. And Portuguese were the first set of people to come into what was called Cananor at that time. 160 years they were there. Dutch took over from them. And then the local Arakkal family, which Yusuf Arakkal, of course, is very famous, but the Arakkal family apparently is the royal family. And very interestingly, they don't use Arakkal as a surname. So that was something we realized. And of course, the British had their share. But the interesting thing is that there are a lot of people who resisted the advance of the British. I was very surprised to find that when Mahatma Gandhi started the war, and he did Satyagraha through salt. And while that Dandi March was happening, there were people who participated in Kannur, actually, who also said, we are not going to buy salt from there, and they marched to the sea, and they were apparently beaten up. So they did find kindred souls in Kerala as well. V.K. Krishnamenon is one of the sons of Kannur, who's very, very famous. And we found that just around the corner where we kept going was Pinarayi, which of course now we know Pinarayi Vijayan is the chief minister, so just as an aside. The last thing I wanted to say, this fort, St. Angelo Fort, was very, very interesting, and we had a look at it, cannons all over the place. Apparently, when archaeological survey took over and digging it, they found the 3,500 cannon balls, right, which were actually buried, and they put it into display. So it just occurred to us, if there's a lot of cannon there, maybe the place was called Cannanur at that point of time. Okay, so I want to end by saying, quoting my favorite P.G. Wodehouse. He said, half the world doesn't know how the other 3/4 live. Half the world doesn't know how the other 3/4 live.
38,000 cannonballs.
38, okay. And so it was very interesting that here is a place, Revathy is from Palakkad, we keep visiting Kerala, never heard of it. Suddenly into our life in 3 days, this burst and got us really excited. So the travel bug, if it bites all of you and they have fun, excellent. A few minutes for Q&A if you have, otherwise, Gargi, all over. Thank you, everybody, for your patience.
38,000 cannons meant so many people sacrificed because there was huge resistance. Because when the Portuguese came to Goa, they also came to Kannur. But Kannur never became such a, it didn't imbibe that strong culture because there was strong resistance from local people. And then they found 38,000 cannonballs. That means many, many people sacrificed their lives. That story is yet to be told.
All right, so thank you, everybody, and profuse apologies for the glitches on the video.
Yeah, we had some very nice videos, but unfortunately, it's just not
It is what it is. Just take a word that it was awesome. Thank you. Bye.
That's Murphy's Law, Dash.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dash. I'm sure many here must have already started planning a trip there. So
PV,
So
I think,
any more question coming from any of the
PV Mall has put his hand up, so it's
So-
his neck of the woods.
Yeah, Revathy.
I think Dash, if you can stop sharing, then probably people can start us asking if they want to ask.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Absolutely loud and clear.
Yeah, Revathy Dash, wonderful. I mean, what a different type of presentation. Made our evening very light and made me very jealous because you guys know more about Kerala than I do. I come from the state, but
Oh,
I've
I
never
was the same thought. 1 week
never
ago,
seen
the
never
same.
seen a Tayam festival, and I've got that on my bucket list now. But one of the things that you mentioned about Kerala is very interesting. You see, you have Kerala, which has got the Tayam, which you said is a Hindu festival. But one of the things I don't know whether you noticed is the plurality of the festivities and the religious functions which take place, which are commonly shared among all communities and religions.
Right.
For example, you will have a Muslim festival or a Christian festival and a Hindu festival, and you have an equal sharing of all the joyous celebrations, primarily because of the demographics. I don't know whether that was very evident in the Tayam festival.
It was possibly, we don't know, but we did see that in the Chirakal Museum, Folklore Museum, where they had shown the Christian community, the Muslim community and the Hindu community. There were, in fact, I had a picture of that, but we should have shown it. But there was a beautiful picture where of 3 communities dancing, and and all of them slightly different, but in the white mundu, and their respective, the women were in their respective traditional dresses of their religion, but you could see that they were differently dressed, but all in white. There was homogeneity, and yet there was diversity. It was very, very interesting to me. That was a very interesting picture. We should have added that.
And also, it so happened when we were there, Good Friday was being celebrated. So there was celebrated, may not be the right term, but Good Friday was on. And so there was a very long procession of Christians dressed in white, young children bearing the cross and so on. Here we are being chaperoned by people from the Muslim communities. There were a lot of Hindus on display as well. But the remarkable part was the communal harmony. You never saw anybody being excluded or anything like that. Absolutely remarkable communal harmony.
Yeah, thank you, Revathy. Thank you, Dash. I also don't know whether you know that Christianity originated from Kannur and Calicut, very close to where you all were, where St. Thomas is supposed to have landed and converted one of the Nambutri families. That's why a lot of the Syrian Christians have commonality between the Hindu customs and the Hindu practice of religion. But
Thank you,
that's an aside.
Thank you for adding to a body of knowledge.
Thanks, Dash. Thanks, Revathy.
Do we have any more questions? I'm sure some must be thinking, okay, let's plan a trip there. So if you, of course, it's not that you have to ask now.
Happy to put you on to our team, our guide.
Yes. So Dash and Revathy, probably you will be having many calls to tell you, give you the tips.
I just wanted to say the festival typically is held from December to April. So just be during monsoon, apparently they do not celebrate Tayam.
Okay. So how was the climate, Dash? Was it hot?
Very, very hot.
It was hot.
We were
Okay.
on the beach. So early mornings weren't too bad. It was pleasant. Very interesting thing is the sand there is absolutely packed and hard. In fact, a guide took us on a drive, will you believe, on the beach. Regular, not four-wheel drive, just a regular car that we had. The ETOs could go on the beach. I drove on a beach for the first time in my life. So early mornings was very pleasant. Afternoons are exceedingly hot.
So we
So
were there out in the afternoon. These Tayams finish by 9:30, 10, we are back to the hotel. And then we move out again only at 4 o'clock. So we largely rest and have some good food in the afternoon. And then again, you go out in the evening. So you don't need to, these stayums are happening early morning or later in the afternoon.
All right.
Anybody, do you have any more question for Dash? I think rest of them will be giving you a call and check with you, Dash. So, okay. So, if there is no other question coming, then I will adjourn the meeting and say thank you. Though we don't say thank you to our own Rotarians, but it's so nice of Dash and Revathy both to step in today and give us a totally new dimension of Kerala. So far, we were very used to that Munnar and all those places only. I think this is something totally new for me, at least. This much I can say, and I'm sure many of us have never been to this place, and we would definitely like to explore sometime. Thank you once again, and we
Thank you.
adjourn the meeting.
Really enjoyed.
Pictures are the
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
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 Thank you, Dash. Thank you, Revathy.
Bye.
See you all. Bye. Thank you, Dash, Revathy.
Welcome, Suman. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.